It looked like the WNBA referees has been put on notice because the WNBA is making big-time hires.
WNBA players are experiencing questionable calls, with referees ignoring flagrant fouls, leaving Caitlin Clark defenseless. This isn't a dystopian future. It's happening right now in the WNBA.
One thing as a very long-term sports fan I know is that officiating and refereeing is always at the top of a fan's list, of the media's list. Obviously, we work hard on training. We work hard on consistency.
The league just secretly admitted the truth behind the referee problem. They're hiring 2 new positions to fix this mess. But here's the twist. It might be too late. We're exposing the ref disasters of 2024 and asking, can these mystery hires save the WNBA, or is it game over?
That stuck out amongst the WNBA fans for the 2024 season, and I can't even lie, I have to admit, it is still horrible refereeing that took place on the basketball court. We know there was countless times, countless calls, and hell, they arguably messed up the WNBA Finals this year alone.
Picture this. Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. The New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx are locked in a fierce battle. The clock's ticking down, and suddenly a whistle blows. The crowd goes silent. What just happened? A questionable call from the referee has just changed the momentum of the game, leaving everyone in shock.
What a terrible way to end this WNBA season.
This moment wasn't just a game changer, it was the tipping point in a season plagued by questionable calls and growing frustration with WNBA officiating. With just 5.2 seconds left in regulation, the referees called a foul on Lynx forward Elena Smith against Liberty star Breanna Stewart. Here's the thing. Stewart appeared to have traveled before the foul, and during the replay review, it was clear there was no contact. The free throws tied the game, sending it to overtime, where the Liberty clinched the win.
She doesn't just take one extra step. Let's count here how many steps she takes when she gets the ball. I'm gonna put this in slow motion. Okay, so she gets the ball here. She jumps 1, 2, 3, 4. She at least jumps 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. She at least takes 4 steps at minimum. She might have taken 5.
Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve didn't hold back after the game. This was stolen from us, she declared, her voice heavy with emotion. She wasn't the only one. Social media erupted with outrage from fans and players alike. The controversy spread like wildfire, with accusations of favoritism towards the Liberty flying left and right.
The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party, because that was not a foul. That call should have been reversed on that challenge. If we sent that clip in, well, first of all, Nafisa Collier, the number of times that she's held, etc., there's nothing down that end, right? Which we, it's kind of, for whatever reason in the series, that was kind of the way it was.
But this wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout the 2024 season, the officiating crisis kept snowballing, and at the center of it all was none other than Caitlin Clark. Time and again, Clark found herself on the receiving end of missed calls and inconsistent rulings. During one infamous play against the Connecticut Sun, Clark took a hard hit. No whistle, no foul, just silence from the officials as fans watched in disbelief.
Everyone else is seeing this angle. I'm calling her in, and I'm saying to her, I need answers.
Clark herself finally spoke up, her frustration evident. I feel like I'm getting hammered, she admitted, giving voice to what fans had been witnessing all season long.
I feel like I'm getting hammered.
The lack of protection for star players like Clark wasn't just unfair, it was downright dangerous as the controversies piled up. Even NBA stars couldn't stay silent. The mounting evidence of inconsistent and potentially biased officiating was impossible to ignore. It wasn't just about missed calls anymore. The WNBA's integrity hung in the balance, and fans demanded answers. How could referees consistently miss such obvious calls? Why did it seem like some teams were getting preferential treatment? The league's response, or lack thereof, only fueled the fire of conspiracy theories.
This photo here, which is right before Stewie goes up with the ball, Elena Smith is not touching her at all. She has 2 fingers that look like slightly tapping the ball. Her body isn't touching Breanna Stewart. Her arm isn't touching Breanna Stewart. There was clearly 0 contact here.
With each passing game, the calls for change grew louder. Players feared for their safety on the court. Coaches struggled to plan strategies around unpredictable officiating, and fans just wanted to see fair competition, not a game decided by questionable whistles. As the dust settled on the controversial finals, one thing became crystal clear. The WNBA was at a crossroads. The officiating crisis had reached a boiling point. Something had to give. But would the league's response be enough to salvage its reputation and restore faith in the game? Or was this just the beginning of an even bigger storm?
All needs to happen from top down. Like on every level, it's just disaster after disaster after disaster after disaster. Like this, at this point, it's laughable. I can't even hold back at this point. There were so many people, former WNBA players, current WNBA players coming out and just saying how bad the referees were, how that could actually happen in the finals game.
Just when you thought the WNBA officiating crisis couldn't get any more intense, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert stepped up to the microphone. Her next words would either douse the flames or pour gasoline on the fire. What she said next left fans and players alike wondering if the league's top official was living in the same reality as the rest of us.
Increased attention this year. There's also been increased scrutiny about the quality of refereeing. Curious if there has been any conversation about whether it's referee pay, referee training, anything to ensure that is as good as it can be.
The pressure on the WNBA to address the refereeing concerns had reached a fever pitch. Players were voicing their frustrations, coaches were demanding answers, and fans were threatening to tune out if something didn't change. All eyes were on Engelbert, hoping for a sign that the league understood the gravity of the situation. But when Engelbert finally broke her silence at the WNBA Finals press conference, her words sent shockwaves through the basketball world. They work hard, they're human, she said, referring to the league's officials. It was a response that left many stunned and confused. Was this really the best the commissioner could offer in the face of such widespread issues?
Obviously, not every, they're humans, looking at technology. Basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different.
The disconnect between Engelbert's casual dismissal and the severity of the officiating issues was staggering. This wasn't just about a few missed calls or controversial decisions. We're talking about player safety being compromised, game outcomes potentially being influenced, and the integrity of the entire league being called into question. Engelbert's response was essentially that everyone makes mistakes. Fans and analysts immediately began dissecting Engelbert's words, trying to understand how she could be so out of touch with the realities on the court. Was she genuinely unaware of the scope of the problem, or was there something more concerning at play? Some even began to question whether Engelbert's apparent lack of concern was indicative of deeper issues within the league's leadership.
It couldn't get any worse. Fans were noticing the commissioner's outfit that she wore for the trophy presentation.
The controversy didn't end there. In what seemed to add fuel to the fire, Engelbert made an appearance at the championship trophy presentation wearing a dress featuring the New York City skyline. In the context of accusations of favoritism towards the New York Liberty, this fashion choice struck many as tone-deaf at best and potentially damning at worst.
It's literally the New York skyline. And okay, I kind of get it. They're playing in New York, so no matter what team wins, but you have a New York team playing their final game in New York. This is just basic IQ. Like, I would like to test the IQ of everyone in management at the WNBA and see if any of them are qualified to run any major.
The WNBA's social media team didn't help matters when they posted and quickly deleted a tweet suggesting the championship belonged to the Liberty. This gaffe only intensified suspicions of bias within the league office, with calls for change growing louder by the day. The WNBA finds itself at a critical juncture. Can the league afford to ignore these issues any longer? What consequences await if they continue down this path? Just when we thought all was lost, eagle-eyed fans suddenly discovered the
WNBA referees need to be held accountable, and it looked like the league is definitely doing something about it.
I love when I go into market and every fan group I meet with, they usually wait and ask it as the last question of the night, but they do ask about officiating, which I appreciate the passion for.